What if I told you there's a plant you're warned not to touch, discouraged from eating, and in many places forbidden to grow, despite the fact that it is packed with complete protein, essential fats, minerals, and micronutrients the human body depends on? What if I told you this plant grows easily, requires little water, improves soil instead of exhausting it, and has fed humans for thousands of years? Yet today, it is treated as suspicious, dangerous, or socially unacceptable. What if I told you this same plant once appeared in medical texts, government farming manuals, and household kitchens, before it was quietly removed, not because new evidence emerged, but because powerful systems decided it no longer fit their economic model? Today, this plant is either ignored or actively stigmatized. You're told it is unnecessary. You're told safer alternatives exist. You're told regulation protects you. But here's the contradiction you are rarely asked to confront. Modern food systems are facing rising malnutrition, chronic disease, and soil collapse. While one of the most nutrient-dense, sustainable plants ever cultivated remains restricted, misunderstood, or legally complicated to access. That outcome does not happen by accident. No society unintentionally removes a low-cost, nutrient-rich food source from its population. That requires policy. That requires messaging. That requires incentives aligned against public access. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what this plant is, why it was pushed out of the food system, how the narrative around it was engineered, and who benefited from making sure you stopped eating it. This channel is built around one principle. Evidence matters more than approval. We examine history through records, not reputation. We analyze health and agriculture through data, not advertising. And when official narratives conflict with documented outcomes, we follow the money. We expose what was buried, not to provoke outrage, but to restore context. Information that challenges entrenched systems rarely disappears on its own. It is regulated, reframed, or quietly sidelined. If you value fact-based investigation that survives pressure, algorithm shifts, and selective visibility, supporting this channel helps keep these discussions accessible, not for a creator, but for the public record. The plant is hemp, specifically the edible components of cannabis sativa cultivated for food and nutrition. This is not about trends, politics, or recreational debates. This is about documented nutritional science, agricultural history, and regulatory decisions that reshaped what people are allowed to grow and eat. Before you dismiss this, understand something essential. What you were taught about this plant is not what farmers, physicians, or governments believe for most of human history. Hemp was not removed from the diet because it lacked value. It was removed because it offered too much value without centralized control. From a nutritional standpoint, hemp is unusually complete. Hemp seeds contain approximately 25 to 32 protein, including all 9 essential amino acids. This places them among a small group of plant foods capable of supporting human protein requirements without supplementation. Unlike many protein sources, hemp protein is highly digestible. Its primary proteins, edestin and albumin, closely resemble proteins found in human blood plasma, which reduces digestive stress and improves absorption. Hemp seeds are also rich in omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids in a ratio associated with reduced inflammatory response, iron, accompanied by magnesium and zinc, which support proper utilization, B vitamins essential for energy metabolism and nervous system function, vitamin E, a lipid-soluble antioxidant critical for cellular protection unlike fortified foods. Hemp delivers these nutrients in their natural biological context. No synthetic enrichment is required. From a functional perspective, hemp competes directly with processed protein powders, omega-3 supplements, industrial seed oils, animal-based protein systems, dependent on antibiotics and feed inputs. It is cheap to grow, resilient to climate variability, and scalable at both household and agricultural levels. That combination, nutritional density, low input cost, and independence from proprietary systems, makes it difficult to monopolize. If hemp is this nutritious, this accessible, and this efficient, why was it removed from the food system, banned from cultivation, or discredited as a viable dietary source? Why was it not improved, standardized, and integrated into modern nutrition? Why were people encouraged to forget it? To answer that, we need to trace the shift from acceptance to suppression step by step. For most of recorded history, hemp was ordinary. In ancient China, hemp seeds were consumed as food and used in medicinal preparations. In India, hemp appeared in traditional diets and pharmacology. Across Europe, hemp oil and seeds were common, especially among rural populations. By the 19th century, hemp extracts and preparations appeared in Western medical texts. Hemp was not exotic. It was regulated like other medicinal and agricultural plants. The shift began in the early 20th century. At the same time industrial food systems expanded, several powerful sectors emerged. Refined sugar and grain processing, industrial seed oils derived from monoculture crops, pharmaceutical approaches to nutrient deficiency hemp did not fit this model. It could be grown locally. It did not require centralized processing. Its nutritional value reduced reliance on manufactured supplements. Regulation followed economics. Through taxation, licensing, and legal reclassification, hemp cultivation became increasingly difficult. Crucially, distinctions between edible hemp and psychoactive cannabis were collapsed into a single category. By mid-century, hemp disappeared from farms, kitchens, and curricula, not because it was disproven, but because it was regulated out of practicality. Public perception did not shift naturally. Language was deliberately blurred. The nutritional plant was associated with social deviance, criminality, and danger, despite no evidence linking edible hemp to harm. Media campaigns repeated simplified claims. Education systems removed nuance. The plant's food value was excluded from dietary guidance. Fear accomplished what evidence could not: compliance. Once hemp was framed as risky, few questioned why. The stigma became self-reinforcing. This was not an accident of misunderstanding. It was the predictable outcome of messaging aligned with economic interests. The consequences were concrete. Farmers lost access to a crop that provided food, oil, and income. Communities became dependent on imported or processed alternatives. Nutritional diversity narrowed. In many regions, individuals faced fines or arrest for cultivating plants their grandparents once grew freely. Patients seeking affordable, food-based nutrition were pushed towards supplements and processed substitutes. This was not theoretical harm. It affected diets, livelihoods, and health outcomes across generations. Modern research has quietly reversed many earlier claims. Hemp protein is now recognized as highly digestible. Hemp oil is studied for cardiovascular and metabolic benefits. Hemp cultivation is promoted for soil restoration and sustainability. Where restrictions have eased, no public health crisis followed. Instead, hemp re-entered food markets as powders, oils, and seeds, often sold at a premium, processed and branded by corporations. The contradiction is clear. The plant was never unsafe. Access was the issue. Industrial food producers benefit from centralized protein sources. Supplement companies profit from nutrients delivered in isolated, branded forms. Large agricultural systems favor crops that require patented seeds, chemical inputs, and global distribution. Hemp threatens that structure by offering nutrition without dependency. Change is slow because acknowledging hemp's role would require restructuring food policy, subsidies, and profit models. The incentives reward delay, not correction. This was never about protecting public health. It was about controlling food systems, profit streams, and dependency. You were not uninformed because you failed to care. You were misinformed because complexity was removed deliberately. Once you recognize that, the story becomes difficult to ignore. Do not accept this account uncritically, including this video. Read agricultural records. Examine nutritional databases. Compare what is restricted with what is promoted. Ask yourself a simple question. Who benefits when people are discouraged from growing and eating one of their most complete foods? If you value open inquiry over comfortable narratives, participate in the discussion. Support access to information that does not rely on permission. Truth rarely announces itself. It survives through those willing to examine what was quietly taken away.